That's a rocket.
The Eye in Big Trouble in Little Chinatown features adult themes, language, and situations. Discretion is advised. 以成人为主题，语言跟情况小心。
Crime may like to hide in the shadows, but it can never really hide from the eye.
Today's episode of The Eye is brought to you by Honey Pot Kitchenware. Is there anything better than a home-cooked meal? Coming home from a long day at work to find a nice roast, a heap of potatoes, and steaming hot, fresh baked rolls. My, that sure sounds swell. A subsidiary of Squidbeak Communications, Honey Pot brings a little more flavor into life by using state-of-the-art Teflon to coat pans, pots, and everything else. So, while you listen to this week's mystery, grab another of those homemade rolls, and remember, when you try Honey Pot, you'll love the taste. And now, WK Nut proudly presents everyone's favorite Cyclops detective, The Eye in Big Trouble in Little Chinatown.
It was a Friday night, late Friday night, the time of night that does something to a man's head, throws crazy lunatic thoughts in there that make him want to go howl at the moon. It was the hour when women get lonely and people put bad ideas into action. I found myself, just before midnight, summoned to a little shop in Chinatown, the Pearl of the East, a place that sold exotic jewelry. But I wasn't going to look at any rings or pendants. See, they'd found a dead dame outside of the store, lying in the middle of the street, ice cold and as naked as the day she was born.
Sir, I'm sorry. This is a crime scene. You can't be here.
Wise guy, your head must be sewn on wrong. Don't you know who that is?
Go easy on the new recruit, Druid. I'm part of the club, kid.
That's Victor Caine, you patchwork idiot.
The Victor Caine? You mean that's the Eye?
The boys in blue had already roped the place off, and that was good. The body of the rooftop diver was drawing a crowd. A stiff corpse is one thing. A naked China doll broken on the pavement, that's another.
Detective Caine.
Captain, any word on who this pretty flower was?
No, not yet. You know these goddamn immigrants. They come here illegally, they live off the grid. She had some papers on her. Stapled to her, actually. Trying to get someone down here now to translate.
A completely naked corpse stapled with papers. Sounds like a Friday night in Chinatown. Doesn't explain why you're here, though. Figured you'd be on date night with the missus.
Yeah, I should be. But you know as well as I do, Chinatown's a war zone. Turf battles between Manchu's crowd and the vampires have gotten heated. Trying to keep some semblance of order in these godforsaken boroughs.
And Captain Helsing was right. Chinatown was currently the roughest of all places in monsterdom. This poor little bird could have been tossed out of the nest by anyone. Any thoughts on the cause of death?
No sign of impact from a bullet, stake, blunt force, no visible silver, wolfsbane. Nah, it's just a fall. Looks like from the top of that building over there. Conclusively nothing yet. We'll have to wait to see what the autopsy says.
And no one saw anything?
Let me find... I have notes.
What's your name, kid?
Wolf, sir. Officer Wolf.
All right, Wolf. Take a breath.
I'm undead, sir.
Figure of speech, kid. What do you have for me? Any witnesses? Anybody around when it happened? Hear a scream? See somebody suspicious? Anything?
Nothing they're telling us, sir.
Loose lips sink ships, huh?
Yes, sir.
And that was the other bad part of Chinatown. It was like a secret society, members only. If you weren't from Chinatown, you had no business there, and any of Chinatown's business was none of yours. So I stood there, leaned in for a closer look. This beautiful oriental flower with perfect skin, eyes closed, lipstick on. Had she taken a nosedive voluntarily? People leave notes when they do that. Not all the time, but 9 times out of 10. But they don't usually staple them to their chest. Did you find anything else with her?
Just the papers.
It looked like a note to you?
Nah, it didn't look like it. Just looked like newspaper clipping.
Anything else?
No, sir. She didn't exactly have pockets.
The stitched-up, smart-ass kid was right. That was the biggest thing. She was as pantsless as the day she came into this world. Why? Did it mean something? It would be hard to tell, especially since I didn't know who she was, but I knew someone who might. Diao was the kind of man who knew things. Not that he had the supernatural power to do so. He just had ears like a cornfield, a neck like a zigzag, and a moral conscience like an auction item, available to the highest bidder.
Mr. Caine, you come for my special blend tea? Best tea house in all of Monsterdom. Heiseman, na ibeta.
Keep the tea to yourself, Diao. I didn't come for beverages.
A friendly visit, then.
Something like that. What have you heard about the Pearl of the East?
Cheap necklaces, shitty watches, not bad prices.
Funny. Now call your lemmings off and cut the stand-up routine, Diao.
保持眼睛不要动. What is it you're after, Detective Caine?
A China doll got snuffed out tonight. No ID, nobody saw. What do you know about it?
What makes you think I would know anything about it?
Don't play games with me. Nothing happens in Chinatown that doesn't have your grimy paws in it somehow.
Oh, you flatter me, Detective. Assuming I did know something, what good would speaking to the police do me?
You ever been shot, Diao?
How quaint. Not putting in the overtime hours you used to, are you, Detective?
Don't make me wring your crooked neck straight.
The girl was Chinese.
And water's wet.
I don't know her name. I don't know who she was or when she came here. But I do know where she came from. China. You come from China to here? You come through the same place as all other Chinese.
Great. So now I'm looking for a travel agent.
No. You are looking for a man by the name of Dai Fu Ling at Wharf 74. Xiang Sheng, 过来，我需要你.
He called over his shoulder, which was easy enough with that bent, broken neck of his. He called like a man who had more at stake in this than the couple of 20s I'd slipped him. And then out came this broad, legs longer than the work week, and a dress to make you question where they went. Short bobbed hair, she stood out from the rest of the traditional garb. She had to be barely 20. Hell, maybe she was in her teens or in her 30s. It was hard to tell with a girl like that, mostly because she didn't have eyes or a nose. That kind of thing goes missing, and it's hard to tell much of anything. I say went missing, but she wasn't missing them. She never had them. Still, it didn't ruin her a bit.
好，我来了，我很高兴你叫我. My name is Xiang Sheng. I am happy to meet you.
Beatoy! This is Xiang Sheng. She will escort you to the wharf.
I was unaware I needed a chaperone.
I was unaware you spoke fluent Chinese. 带她去代福林，看好她，弄完带她回来. Detective, be mindful. Xiang Sheng is a lovely girl, but she has a very nasty habit. Every time she speaks, she will say one truth and one lie.
How do I figure out which is which?
You're a detective. Isn't that your job?
The second smartass of the night. And just because he was right didn't mean that the eyeless Barbie doll had to crack that wicked smile. Driving had always been a second office for me, a place to go over the notes and evidence of the day. In Monster, New York, it was a symbol of status, an image of freedom. Whereas most ghouls and monsters rode the subway, the bus, took cabs, I could go and come as I wanted to. My office was mobile and a reliable jet black coupe. But right now, it had one more occupant than it was used to having. Are you looking at me? Because I can't tell if you're... Part of your body language sort of indicates. Can you... how do you... Can you look at things?
Maybe I can.
And then it occurred to me what Diao had said. One bit of truth and one bit of lie. My scene partner for the night was going to be a little bit of extra work. You don't want to be here tonight, do you?
Of course not.
Did you know the girl in the picture?
Of course not.
Do you work for Jiao?
Of course not.
And there we were, in that uncomfortable little place where things didn't add up. A greasy feeling in your stomach when you know something's not true, but you can't recognize which something that is. Did she mean the not? Or did she mean the of course? Hard to tell. Normally I'd look into her eyes, and I realized I'd been holding on to the picture of the China doll ever since we left the tea room. I threw it on the dashboard. Seemed like it startled Miss Smiles a bit. But I was fixated on the eyes of this broken piece of porcelain in the photo. Cold, empty now. Such a contrast to that bright red. She was wearing lipstick. The girl beside me was wearing lipstick and rouge, but our skydiver was only wearing lipstick. No other touches. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew it meant something. The whole car ride was like that. A bunch of knowing without knowing a damn thing. Two people speeding toward trouble. Only one eye between them to see it coming. It smelled like fish and human waste as we arrived at the docks. Wharf 74, the docking point of the Chanlian. Named after the father of Chinatown. My grandmother used to work for him. Would tell me stories about him when I was an ankle biter. Said he had a nasty habit of grabbing bottoms. Made nastier by the fact that most of those bottoms were choir boys. He was a boogeyman for kids in my neighborhood, even though he'd been long gone for years. But for the people of Chinatown, they ignored the darkness in him. He'd created something. For them. Everybody needs a hero, I guess.
We will find Daifu here, though it is not where we want to be.
Both of those things sounded like truths to me. The creaking wood, the cold air, the smell of fish guts. I hated the docks. Always had. But for the case, this is exactly where we needed to be. Daifu Ling?
Who's asking?
Detective Victor Caine with the MNYPD.
Oh! I know who you are.
Is that right?
Yeah! You arrested my brother. Put him in a jail. For a long, long time. Shu Fangling, you arrested him. You the one-eye police.
Shu Fan Ling. Well, that was a complicated case, and there were a lot of variations.
I'm glad you do it. My brother asshole. You good cop. He tricky asshole.
Mouth-faced Mahoney smiled at me with that devilish grin of hers that was starting to grow on me, like a fungus. I was busy exhaling a sigh of relief. His broken English and my badge aside, Daifu was a big Chinese stack of muscles. He was picking up shipping crates with one arm and jotting down his notes with the other two when we came up on him.
He is here to ask you questions. I am here to translate.
Then it occurred to me. Daifu spoke in English. It might not have been Wordsworth, but it was a whole worth of words I understood. Why did Diao actually send her with me?
What you want to know?
This picture. Girl was found dead tonight. No ID. I need to know who she is. I was told that you could help me with that.
Let me look at picture.
Do not give him the picture. He will give it back immediately.
So that's the type of ghost this one was. Sometimes spirits get a little too clingy. You give them something and they'll hold on to it forever. Ghosts can be the possessive type. I'll let you look at it from here.
She not wearing clothes in picture. See? Naked.
She's wrapped in a blanket of mystery. Who is she? The Great Wall of a dockmaster leaned in close and studied the photo for a moment. You could tell he wanted to keep it. Her naked body must have made it all the more appealing, but it looked like he was scanning his own brain for the information. Like he had the whole Dewey Decimal System in there.
She come 6 months ago. Her name Jiang. She a farm girl. I don't remember why she come, but I have a book, Xingyuan.
Manifesto. He won't show it to you.
I know which part of that isn't true.
Oh, here! I found her.
And sure enough, there she was, staring like a reflection. She looked younger and like she was from a different world. I suppose she was. It's strange how much age, the city, lipstick, and death add to a pretty farm girl. What does that writing there say?
It's in Chinese.
I feel an echo of my question about to come on.
He does not read Chinese anymore.
I never read Chinese. I read number in English. I never learn. I hear now New York. I learn English, I learn number.
And like the sun breaking over the horizon illuminates the dark, my blind tour guide revealed her purpose. She placed her hand on the paper and began to rattle off its contents.
It is unclear, but Jian, farm raised, 21 years old. She's not from China. Brought here to be 这可能是一个不当的问题，但是是什么意思？
我给你看他们都工作多重要，跟我来。
He will begrudgingly show us what her intended job was.
As Ling Kong began to lead us to another part of the docks, I tried to sort through the alphabet soup that my eyeless interpreter had given me. What were the lies? What were the truths? For something being unclear, she read it pretty easily. Not from China. She was Chinese. Everything else seemed to be passable. She translated for me, so I suppose in a way that made my job easier. But this second guessing, she was keeping me on my toes. Truth, lies, and those legs.
Shh. Now we be quiet.
Daifu ducked us down behind some boxes, as if we were hiding. I started to ask what this was all about when a young girl flailed her arms in front of us.
Over here! Over here!
A young Chinese girl trying to get someone's attention before she ran off. Where was she running? Where were we? And then I noticed the boats, docked all around us, tilted to a side. Every one of the boats covered in barnacles and filth from Neptune's wastebasket. There was trash and fish intestines everywhere. It was the dumping ground for the docks. And then I heard the rumbles.
Here they come. Don't let them see you.
They came in numbers. Bald, naked, but with nothing to show for it. Their gray skin emaciated around their legs and arms, but pot bellies. Their mouths small and round. Hairless, they mumbled and rumbled as they limped towards the girl. And then they began to eat. All of the waste, the trash clinging to the boats, everything in their sight. What the hell are they?
They are the Igwe, lovely creatures.
They not lovely. They hungry. We used to clean, get girl to lure them. They eat all trash and we put them back in cage.
He pointed to metal stalls in the back of a warehouse. So this is what you hired Jan to do.
I know hire her.
By this point, I could tell he'd become fixated on something else. What it was, I hadn't quite made out yet. Who hired her? Who brought her here?
Man who runs docks.
I thought that was you. I'd lost his attention and it was fixated. On my watch. Cheap thing I'd picked up for a couple of bucks a few years ago. Had a little shine to it, but nothing special. You like that?
Let me look at it.
I'll let you keep it if you tell me who owns the docks.
Seafoam Company own docks. Own most of Chinatown.
I was afraid you'd say that. It hadn't been a waste of time. Daifu was able to give us a name and the next pit stop on the little road trip of this investigation. But Sifan was a place I didn't want to go. Not yet. Not till I knew all of the information. No point in carrying a gun to a shootout without a few bullets in it.
Where shall I take you now?
Looks like we're going straight to the top, doll. We're going to see the head of Sifan, Dr. Fu Manchu. First things first, though, we got another stop to make.
Tune in next week to see where the clues lead our favorite one-eyed gumshoe.
Crime may like to hide in the shadows, but it can never really hide from the eye.
The Eye in Big Trouble in Little Chinatown is brought to you by Bean Dip Productions and the Neighborhood Studio. The Eye is recorded at the Neighborhood Studio in Atlanta, Georgia. That's a rocket.